Alan here, and we are wrapping up our interviews for the year. This is the last one before the holidays. Christmas is upon us, New Year's. It's crazy how fast time goes. But we have a very special guest as I live and breathe. We're talking to pop icon, artist, musician, storyteller, Tiffany. I can't believe it. This is so wild, very meta. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you. Sorry, I'm in my van. We're traveling today for the holidays. So going from Nashville to Kentucky. So delivering presents and things. So it's been a whirlwind of Christmas in my family lately because we have early Christmases because everybody gets on and does other things. So it's yes, I'm Christmas upped in this wonderful van. So thank you for making the time with me today for sure. And it's the glamorous puffy jacket on because it is freezing right now out here. So I hear warmer weather's coming for Christmas, but right now it's freezing beforehand. So whatever, you roll with it.
Yeah, well, I'm in Colorado, so I'm used to the cold.
Yeah.
I was in the Bay Area for years, Sacramento, Vacaville area. I know you're from Norwalk originally. So yeah, it's that kind of vibe. Well, your song Angels All Around has been on repeat for me and my 9-year-old, just listening to it, getting into the spirit. But I have introduced him to your music. I played him the remix of I Think We're Alone Now, and he likes it. But the question he always has is, why is she alone? And maybe she needs friends. From the babes, mouth of babes, I guess.
Well, I mean, yeah, I get it. It's the song Angels All Around was really written to the girl that sings I Think We're Alone Now in a weird way. When we were going through COVID, people were reaching out to me going, I know you sing that song, but I feel really alone. And it was like an ongoing joke. So the new single, the new Christmas single, Angels All Around, is kind of written from that. I don't want to say joke because it opened the door to a lot of people start to really talk about how they felt scared, afraid. And that led into something beautiful like Angels All Around, telling my story and how I felt and holding on to hope. And, like sunsets and early dawns is one of the lyrics in the song. And I was up all the time. I couldn't totally sleep. So, I mean, it's a funny thing how many times I think we're alone now rolls into something else. We got the Children Behave shirts on tiffanytunes.com if anybody's interested. All things Tiff World there. But, we try to have fun with it. Of course, we have our like pride colors and we have our black and white blocked retro. And I do some different stuff. But that song in itself has just, continued to have a life of its own. I love that he loves it. He'll have to learn some of the moves. That was old school 80s. There was something fun about the 80s too. There is something fun about that song in particular. It just does go down to generation, and I'm very grateful. But there's something fun about it. So I can't really put my finger on it. I think a lot of it is 80s music. Hopefully, you're telling him about
Oh
80s
yeah, well
music
I'm
as
49, so yeah, he's definitely been indoctrinated. It's interesting because this is how things work because since we started the show, having you on has always been on our list. And then I've worked with your publicist, Brian, for a long time. And he posted something about working with you. And I was like, dude, can we get her on the show? It would be the perfect way to wrap up the year. But I was talking to I have a point here. I do promise Mark Summers of the Double Dare Decades. And we were talking about this era in the 80s and 90s of these mall tours where shows would go to malls and performers would go to malls. And you and your, as it's in your bio, your pop, I don't, not enemy, but sort of your archetype, Debbie Gibson. You guys did all these things, and you were everywhere. And it's crazy how your career, well, it's not crazy. It's phenomenal actually how your career and all these things have just really sustained the test of time, and you're still putting out music and you're still doing all these wonderful things. You mentioned this idea of these songs sort of having their life of their own. How do you like process that? Like just the fact that a lot of this music, even the current stuff, is it all just it's so popular. It's crazy to think about the fact the amount of success that you've had. It's amazing, I think.
you. Well, I mean, it's crazy for me to think about yeah, like how long it's been going on, over 30 years. But that I'm doing, I feel like some of my best music right now. Again, tiffanytunes.com, everybody,
Yes.
Shadows album is totally more rock retro kind of sound. And I'm gonna keep it there. I worked really hard to get that like sound. So, looking forward to some new music eventually. But Angels All Around, as a songwriter, this is something that I've wanted to do, is write a Christmas song. So, I'm ticking off the boxes of excitement and good things and longevity and, how I've stayed in the game. And I think more than anything, I'm very, kind of proud from my music, my fans growing into other things with me, like Let's Food with Tiffany and chefing and cookbooks. And I get us into all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, I think during COVID times, you really like doubled down and took advantage of that opportunity. And I think as an artist, you have to do that. You have to really not rebrand, but just continue to maintain the relevance. And really, you've got the
Yeah.
cooking and the new music and things like that. So when you're writing music these days, where do you start? Where is the beginning, the middle, and the end? Particularly your most recent album and this Christmas song. Like, what is your process to create?
Well, I mean, usually it comes from my experiences, what's in my heart at the time or what I want to say. If it's a personal record or a song, that I'm living through or trying to recoup from, I call it my therapy, then it just it starts to flow out of you. If it's something like Angels All Around, the lines that as I was connecting the dots, how I was connecting to that song just rolled out. But, again, I didn't want it to be something that was so sad, because I had a lot of people messaging me in COVID and they were like, I really feel alone. Like, I know you're the girl that sings, I think we're alone now, but like, I really, I'm not doing well, So it came from all of these fragile stories to roll it into something where it wasn't like fluffed off, well, there's angels all around, just be okay with it. We wanted to write those choruses where they really stuck with you. They said something to you. And I think we did that. Margie Hauser, my co-writer, was amazing. We just, we both look at each other. Well, all three of us, Mark Alberici, Margie, we all look at each other and go, that's it, but that's not it. We could go deeper. So, I think, again, it was some of those lines were just things that people had said to me. So, as a songwriter, I think really it's listening and then being transparent and just, kind of letting it be a truth teller, whatever it is, a storyteller.
Yeah, no, I think, well, that's what you are at the core as a storyteller, right? I mean, you write music, you produce, you do all these things, but storytelling is really what it comes down to. And I think that's why people connect with you, is because you are telling stories. Again, the current music, the Christmas song, it's so pretty. I mean, we've just had it going
Thank you.
constantly. Very true, very true. I really do mean it. So when people meet you, other artists or people who are starting or wanting to start, do you often get solicited for advice about that? Because I know when you began, it was a different time and things were just done differently. Like you were
Yeah.
almost like thrust into it unwittingly. And you talk about the fact that your family, you just didn't know, like it was all
Right.
happening so fast.
Yeah, I didn't really have anybody to draw from. And my manager, that was about it. But, it was a little different of a relationship. So, for as far as parenting or somebody that was guiding me in the music industry, no, I didn't have any. My parents had difficulties in their marriage and there was alcoholism. So, there was a lot of chaos in my home. So, I just kind of was, I don't want to say thrusted into the music industry. I wanted to go, but it
Yeah.
just started to line up and happen. And I don't think anybody was really prepared for that. I don't know if you can ever really be prepared for that. But as a kid, I just kind of rolled with it and got on planes and went to the next adventure, and it did become a little, harder, like navigating the success. And then, like anyone, I don't know if it was just an age thing, but in any career, you're only as good as, your last success. And then people are
Right.
like, what are you going to do now? and then if you don't do something that's amazing and great, which is kind of hard a little bit, especially then, the numbers that you needed to qualify to get a platinum record were very impressive. Now it's like it's watered down. I think it's a number one album's like 5,000 copies or something like that. So it's different. It's a different time. Not that that's bad. I still appreciate the system, but it's different. So, that was really something to brag about. But I also think that it was real organic people who loved you and the fan. And I'm really proud that I've been able to take those people with me from the mall tour, just rocking it into other things like Radical Reds, my clothing online excuse me, business, to Let's Food, to, Tiffany Tunes, to new music, to all of it. So I'm glad I'm not singing today because obviously
You're funny.
we,
Well, I
we thought
again,
this is the glamour part of life. There's always the Tiffany stuff, and then there's the Tiffany stuff. So we lost our heating and air the other night. We were sleeping in bed, and all of a sudden, like this terrible smell happened. So thank God, though, nothing major. But all of these things are stories. I'll probably write about the fear I had about that. So, but it's been cold up in my house. That's why we decided to go to Kentucky and
stay
live
warm a
in
little
Richmond
bit.
and use
Yeah.
somebody else's heat. To be frankly,
I love it.
they
Well,
just
tis the season, I guess. So when you meet fans, when you see them, are you able to gauge pretty quickly what sect in life they know you from, whether it's from the early 80s to like things that you're working on now, to the
Well, yeah. I mean,
person?
I meet a lot of people now, and they're connecting with me on the new music or the new experiences, which is very cool. I love
Yeah.
that. And then, the old school stuff. It just is always woven in there, really. From when I sing, I think we're alone now, the connection there, that everybody goes crazy, to backstage meet and greets where we're talking about funny moments in the 80s, or maybe previously meeting somebody before the mall tour. Oh, I get asked a lot of questions about the 80s, obviously. So people come backstage, and that's what I love about live shows, and variations of live shows that I do. And, I get to talk to people. I get to hear their stories again. And, and then go on and write those tales, or those impressions on me. Because, that's my time to like really find out what the fan is thinking, what they like, what they don't want to like, all that kind of stuff. So, and I plan to do more of those things in the new year. We've got a lot of really cool stuff planned and Team TF. So it just shaking it up a little bit, changing it. It's like the industry has changed so much, but if you embrace it in certain ways, you can mold it to be what you kind of want to do now. So it's just finding that, and then finding what you think is successful on that level. So that's what I'm doing, and but as long as you're having a good time along the way, there you go. That's the battle.
Yeah. Well, you have embraced it quite well because when you started, there was no social media, there was no TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, none of that stuff, and you mentioned something very interesting I want to tap on as we wrap up here. I know you're quite busy, is the idea of just the organic fan base that you've built over time. You know what I'm saying? Like it was word of mouth. It was sitting up, waiting for your song to be played or any song to be played that you did on the radio and hitting record on my boombox to capture that, or going out and buying cassette tapes. I mean, the 80s were just such an iconic time.
I
I
know.
For anybody listening or watching that has experienced this in real time, you know what I'm talking about. But if it's been through a television show
Mhm.
or something, you just don't get it because your career has been iconic for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Well,
Very
I'm
true.
very grateful. And I mean, I think, I just keep going. That's the point. I was given this platform, and I love I've never had a plan B. And I'm just going to keep doing other things that I want to do, and engaging with fans and making new fans. So that's kind of been the plan, being around great people and being grateful for that. And, now I'm again venturing into other stuff. So that's really, it's been a wonderful gift to be able to take all my original fans and kind of grow up with them, still have that reminiscence there and that bond, but also to be open-minded because everybody's listening to new music as well, to kind of fit into that new music slot that they're like, I really like it. I'm like, well, thank you.
Yeah, I
Because
really do. Yeah.
I get it. You love people for certain things. And then when they do new things, you're like, it's not as great as it. But if it is, that's the real challenge, and people go, I didn't expect this. Sometimes I think I'm listening to like an 80s song, a little bit like very modern, like a modern take on. I was like, aha, that was strategic. We planned very hard on that. So I always call my stuff like my new stuff like kind of rock retro, because it's got that 80s flair to it with a very modern production sound to it. So come see a TIFF show if you haven't. Next year will be few and far here in America, but definitely UK. And I start to break into Europe again. So after many years, so I'm very excited. But I do have TIFF takeovers and we do one-offs. And I'm always doing some kind of live music throughout the year.
Well, if you're ever in Colorado, I'm down to come see you. I mean, I saw you on the mixtape tour, and then I saw you somewhere in the 80s, 90s ish. I think my parents took me to your show. Um, but yes, well, we've got the new music, we've got Angels All Around. Everything is at Tiff Tunes. Where else can they connect with you on social media and get
On
all the
all
things?
social media for sure, definitely. Tiffany underscore tunes on Instagram and of course Facebook. And the best thing to do really is go to tiffanytunes.com though, because it takes you to all my socials. You get to hear some music, see all the cool merch, and just kind of get connected with everything I'm doing. I do a cooking club as well. Let's Food with Tiffany from my home. So a whole different side of me, more personable. You always get a little music there. So, it's just a whole different way for me to engage with the fan and kind of just relax a little bit. So yeah, come follow me in my travels as well.
Yes, and we are just a few days away from Christmas, so appropriately said, children behave because
Yes.
Santa is coming. And Tiffany, this has been a pleasure. I really do mean it. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.